My name's Emily Saud, and I am a hospital system representative here out of our American Cancer Society Southeast Michigan office. So obviously the American Cancer Society is a national organization. We operate in communities across the country, but our local Detroit service center is, our office is located in Southfield, and we serve the 9 counties of Southeast Michigan. So I often say my office is really my car, and I go to all the different health systems, and my specific focus is here with the systems in the city of Detroit. So I'm familiar with some of the barriers to care in this area, and my goal today is to inform you a little bit about what the American Cancer Society is doing for patients, caregivers, prevention, some of our research information, what we're doing nationally, and then how we bring that here locally. So I really want this to be a conversation. I know we schedule a little over an hour, but I'm not going to talk, I don't want to present to you for that long. I really want this to be a conversation. So I'm going to just give you a real sort of general overview, because there is so many different facets of what the American Cancer Society offers. So if there's something that piques a specific interest, please feel free to stop me, and we can have some conversation around that topic. So I just want to make sure, like I said, to give you sort of the big picture, to let you know the general idea of what we're doing, some of our patient programs and resources nationally, as well as in the Detroit area. But like I said, feel free to stop me if you have questions, if you want clarification. If you've had any interaction with the American Cancer Society before, please feel free to share your experience. I always say feedback is good, whether it's good feedback or bad feedback. That's how we learn from patients, caregivers, and community members about where we can improve and where we're succeeding. So please feel free. Like I said, I want this to feel casual. I always hesitate to do a formal presentation because I really want it to be a conversation. So please feel free to jump in and talk along with me. So I just wanted to get started and give you a little bit of research about, or a little bit of background about a few of the different areas that American Cancer Society focuses on. So our biggest area of where our dollars go, so we are obviously a nonprofit organization, so we are completely funded by donor dollars, and one of the biggest areas that we spend those donor dollars is in cancer research. So we are the second largest research funding organization outside of the national government. So we're the largest nonprofit cancer research funder in the country. We've been a part of lots of advancements in cancer, and one of the areas of our focus is on new and young researchers. So our specific area of focus is for researchers that are coming just out of school and have bright new ideas. So we fund long-term research projects that are going on 10, 20, 30 years. A lot of researchers get refunded, but we really focus our efforts on those areas of research improvements that are fresh out of school, the new ideas where researchers often aren't able to be funded by the government, because we know that technology research is constantly evolving, and those are where the newest ideas are. We also focus on education. So we're the leader in information for reliable cancer resources and cancer statistics. So a lot of the physicians, a lot of the researchers use sort of our epidemiological information that's available nationally, so that they are aware of which resources are available here locally. So they can look at those facts and figures and say, this population in this state has a real, large predominance of a certain type of cancer, so they can focus their research on that type of thing. And it's also available to the public on our website. It's just lots of statistics if you want to know what's the incidence rate of a certain cancer in a certain state or county, or all that type of information is available on there through our website. We also have an advocacy network. So we know that outside of cancer research, the next biggest way that we can change the future of cancer is by public policy. So when there's not enough funding in our National Cancer Institute to offer some of those research grants that we can't offer, we have an advocacy network called ACS-CAN, the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, that focuses on going to DC, going to Lansing here in Michigan to talk to our legislators about why are we cutting funding for cancer research, why are we cutting funding for cancer prevention. They've also played a large role in some initiatives like the Smoke-Free Air Act. So we know a small percentage, but there is a percentage of lung cancers that come from secondhand smoke. So there are people who've never smoked a day in their lives who are getting cancer from secondhand smoke. So that was a big win recently in Michigan. I know it wasn't the most popular decision, but as a public health professional and a public health organization, we know that that is one way that we can save lives. And again, I talked about research funding. That's constantly an area that gets cut. So we make sure that our voices are heard like I said, in Lansing and in Washington, D.C., so that our legislators know that we know that this is important and we can't just keep cutting funding. That's where cures and prevention is coming from. Hello. Are you here for the Lunch and Learn?
Yes.
Okay, if you could just go ahead and sign in and feel free to take a box lunch and have a seat.
Okay.
And the other offering that we have is service. So we collaborate locally, like I said, with health systems. That's my job, is to make sure that the programs that we have to offer and the things that we do here in Michigan are accessible to patients and their families. So not only do we do the research, we do the advocacy, but we have patient service programs. I hope some of you are familiar with those already, but that's what I'm going to really focus on today. So again, feel free to stop me if you have any specific questions, but I'm just going to continue with a general overview. So there's a few different ways that you can contact your local American Cancer Society. I know when you see an 800 number, that doesn't feel local, right? It's like, oh, I don't want to call that 800 number. So the 800 number gives you access to our National Cancer Information Center, which is a call center down in Texas. So it's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's oncology nurses available 24/7, so if you have a question about a medication side effect, or maybe it's not necessarily an emergency room visit, but you need a question answered and it's the middle of the night, or it's a holiday, your doctor's not available, there are people there who can give you that information. Oftentimes they're going to refer you, back to your attending physician or your treatment staff, but they will be able to say that's a normal side effect of this type of treatment if you need that sort of information. And then there are, within that National Cancer Information Center in Texas, there are divisions within that center. So there are, I believe it's 30 or 40 specific information specialists who are specific to Michigan. So they know about all the resources specifically in Michigan. So there's not one person who's expected to know everything across the country. The way they have it split up is that there really are those local experts, even though they are located down in Texas. And then when if there are questions that they can't answer, they reach out to our local partners. So if there's something, geographically that person's not familiar with, they'll give me a call or someone on my team a call so we can work that out with them. Again, our resources are all available on cancer.org. So I like to say that's like the cancer dictionary. So if you go on cancer.org, the first thing that pops up is a search box. And what I always say is just type in what you're looking for and it'll usually pop right up. So there's all sorts of different pages, different areas you can click on, different information available. But usually when you go there, you're looking for something specific. You want to know what resources we have. So if you type in those specifics, it'll pop right up for you. Hey there, she just went downstairs to get water bottles. Sure. So that's another way to connect with the American Cancer Society to find out what's available. And then something that you all might be familiar with here at KCI is one of the areas that we do this. We have a direct referral form. So there's a patient form that you can fill out that has all your information on it. It's just a one-sheet piece of paper that gets faxed directly to our information center, and you can list on there what resources you're looking for. So if you saw a flyer for this Lunch and Learn, or if you want to know is there a resource for transportation, or is there a financial resource available, you can fill out that form, indicate what you're looking for. It gets faxed into our National Cancer Information Center, and that way those specialists have the information, they know what you're looking for, so they can find all those resources in the database, and then what they do is they'll call you. So instead of having to go through the 800 number, get filtered to the right people, that way they have those resources available. And they'll give you a phone call and say, we know from your treatment facility, this is the type of information that you're looking for. These are the resources that are available in your community. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about what resources are available that are directly supported by the American Cancer Society, and then what are some of the other resources that we can refer people to if we can't solve that problem directly. Any questions about that? No? All right. Okay, so this, I already touched on, the National Cancer Information Center, that's what's accessible through the 800 number. They are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We just heard a statistic the other day that on Christmas Day, they received almost 900 phone calls nationally. So Some people say, why do you need to be open 24/7, 365 days a year? And we say, because even on Christmas Day, there's people who need information and resources. So there are 300 plus cancer information specialists. So those are the people who are specific they can answer all the general questions. And then, like I said, there's another subset of people who are experts for the state of Michigan and more localized resources. There are oncology nurses that can provide that second level of support. Like I said, they're never going to give you treatment recommendations or anything like that, but they are able to confirm if it's a common side effect or that type of information. So the other thing that's available is our language line. So if you have a patient or a friend or a caregiver maybe who has questions and English is not their first language, we're able to get them information in their native language. So we all know that a cancer diagnosis is a shock in itself, and you're learning lots of new terms even when it is in your native language. So when we have a patient or a caregiver who's trying to learn these things in a language that is not their first language, it can be tricky. So we do our best to make sure that patients who, like I said, are not native English speakers can get the reliable information in a way that they can comprehend. We do have Spanish and English speakers on site, and then if it's a different language, we're able to refer them to a language line, or we'll have translators who can get on the line to help with that service as well. Another service that's available through our National Cancer Information Center is our clinical trial matching service. So I know a lot of you probably already heard about clinical trials. What our resource center is able to do is they're able to pull up the list of all the trials that are available nationally. So you'll get connected with that specialist with the clinical trials matching service, and they'll ask you specific questions about what treatment you've had, what your diagnosis is, what you're exactly looking for, if you're looking for something local, if you're willing to travel elsewhere, and they have the access to all trials that are open nationally. So there may be trials that are available that aren't offered right here in Southeast Michigan, but if you're willing to travel, they can get you that type of information through the matching service. And what they would do is provide you with all the information about that trial, and then they would say, take this back to your physician, talk it over with them, and then if you need more information or if the physician needs more information, they can connect with you again. So once you're connected to those people, they give you a specific person that you can work with. You don't necessarily have to keep going back through that 800 number process. They'll say, you can connect with me directly. So it's just another layer of service. That's one area that we know can be very confusing, and that's why we decided that it needed its own group of specialists to talk people through that. So we do not offer direct financial resources for patients and caregivers, but what we do is we are able to connect people to resources that are available financially. So we are not an organization that says these are the things that we offer and we're not going to tell you what else is available out there. I'll get to this in a minute, but there are close to 30,000 national resources that are financial assistance, that are all those type of things that we don't offer directly, that we are more than happy to refer you to. So those are all compiled in there. They're also able to talk you through, if you have insurance, they're able to help talk you through what may be covered by your insurance for a trial and all that type of information. So they're very well educated. Like I said, the clinical, you could spend, a full-time job could be trying to figure out clinical trials, and that's literally what these people are available for. So it's a great resource. The health insurance assistance service, that's similar to what I spoke about being able to talk you through what may be available through your insurance. So the health insurance assistance specialists are people who can talk you through what's available through your insurance, what might not be available, help you sort of break down some of that terminology when you get a whole stack of information, which one's which, what does this mean, this doesn't sound right. Those are people who can help connect with you. Also, sometimes what they're able to do is connect. They'll do like a 3-way phone call. So if there's something that you need help talking to your insurance people about, they'll call and advocate for you. So they'll say, I was just communicating with Mrs. Whoever, and they have a question about their caregiver, their patient's bill. This is my understanding of it. Can you explain this to us? Because it's not, we're not able to understand what was available or what was spelled out in the letter that you sent me in the mail. So if that's particularly helpful for someone who may not have a caregiver available to help them, break down some of that information. they're very helpful and very willing to do that type of thing. And then there's treatment decision tools. So our focus for patients and caregivers is all about education. So we want you to have good, reliable information that can help you through your treatment. So Google is a great resource, but we know too many times, too many people get on Google and they get all this information and then they take it to their doctor and they figure out none of this is anything to do with me, myself, my treatment. So our goal is to make sure that patients and caregivers have good, reliable information, and that's why we try and make it accessible through our 800 number, through that direct referral process that I talked about, and through our website, because we know it's scary enough. You don't need to be getting false information that's not reliable from the internet. Okay, this is just a screenshot. This is what the home page, when you go to cancer.org, like I said, that's that cancer dictionary. And you can see the first box up there says, how can we help you? And it's just a search box. So like I said, you can click through all those tabs and there's an abundant amount of information in there. But my recommendation is always to first click on that search box. And if you don't find what you're looking for, that pops right up, you can call the 800 number. You can say, hey, I'm on the website. Can you tell me how to get to this type of information? But if you click, I don't have it available here, but you can click any of the tabs. So this is available if you want to get involved, if you want to come out to one of our survivor celebrations, if you want to get involved with ACS CAN because you recognize that there's a problem with what's available in the state of Michigan. All those resources are available there. Under the Find Support and Treatment tab, that'll get you all the information that's available on all of our patient programs and resources. Stay Healthy is prevention information, post-treatment, I'm a survivor, what are the recommendations for diet, for lifestyle choices, for physical activity, all that kind of information is available there. Okay, so this is our Personal Health Manager Kit. Has anyone received one of these? Okay, so this is a resource that's available through that referral process that I talked about. So you fill out that form. One of the things you can check is, I would like a Personal Health Manager Kit. And then this gets sent to you in the mail. It's a plastic, it's basically a binder, or like a filing binder. It's got all different tabs in it, so it can help you keep you organized. It can keep all your bills organized. It has information in there, so you'll fill out all your information on the form, and it has all the specifics about your treatment, about your diagnosis. So they'll put all that reliable information that I talked about in there, so that way you have all the information you need. You don't have to look to Google to hopefully find some answers. So this is totally free of cost. It gets shipped directly to your home. And it's really just a tool. It has some note areas where you can write down, if you think of a question that you have for your doctor for next time, you can run to your binder and write it down, so you don't have to try and remember how often we're sitting in the doctor's office and you think, there was 10 things I wanted to ask you, and now that I'm sitting here, I just want to leave. So it helps keep you organized and helps get all that in order for you, so you don't have everything strewn about. And like I said, totally free of cost, and it usually comes within 5 days once you fill out that referral form. Sometimes faster. This is just another tool, more information that's available, and like I said, it's free of cost. You're lucky here if you've been treated here, or you have a patient that's been treated here. There are some great resources, but these are available nationally, so we know there are some centers that don't have any type of information offered, so we want to make sure that everybody has access to that type of information. But on site here, there are great resources. Okay, so these are some of our patient service programs that we offer. So the first one I want to talk about is Road to Recovery. Has anyone heard of that program? Okay, so all of our programs are volunteer-driven programs, and this program, Road to Recovery, is literally volunteer drivers. So we train drivers who are willing to take patients to and from their treatment to do just that. They pick patients up at their home, they take them to their treatment, they wait for their treatment to be over, and they take them back home. So they're all volunteers. Sometimes we have people who use their personal vehicles. Sometimes we have maybe someone from a church who knows their van's not being utilized during the week, so they're able to use it during the week to help get patients to and from their treatment. It's totally free of cost. Because it's volunteer driven, we're not able to guarantee rides. It does require about 3 to 4 days notice, so sometimes we get requests for something last minute, somebody canceled, can't drive you to your treatment. We do our best to fill those type of rides, but you have the best luck with the more notice. So I always say, if you have a month of treatment and maybe twice a week, you're not going to have a ride, I always say request all that up front. It's a lot easier to cancel a ride that you end up not needing than it is to try and find one last minute. So I was just talking with Stacey a little bit about this before we got started. Detroit, we've always had a problem because of the amount of patients who come to the city, even from outside of the city, for their treatment. So we've always had trouble being able to fill all the rides. So this year we're working with some of our corporate partners in Detroit to help us spread the word and recruit some volunteers. So we know we need more people here. This is a place where we've made a small impact, but we know we can make a huge impact if we can get to people who are willing to volunteer. So that's something that we're working on increasing, but it is available. So again, if we don't have a volunteer, what we'll do is connect you to another resource. So they'll ask about your insurance information. Sometimes there are resources available through your insurance or through Medicare, Medicaid. And sometimes we have connections with other community groups. Like I said, if it's sometimes we're able to connect with like non-emergency medical transportation who, if you're referred through the American Cancer Society, they'll offer you 50% off of your ride. So if we can't do it directly, we'll try and help you find somebody who can offer it, like I said, for a discount or free if possible. One of the requirements to be listed as an American Cancer Society resource is you have to be able to offer a patient a significant discount or free services. So we don't put anyone in there that's just trying to make a dollar. We connect with the people who are willing to assist us in helping in areas that we see there is a need. So our Look Good, Feel Better program, this one's specific for the ladies. When you're going through treatment, if you're going through chemo and you're losing your hair, losing your eyebrows, your skin's all weird, changing, you can go through this Look Good, Feel Better program. It's hosted on site here at Karmanos every other month, I believe. And it's a volunteer cosmetologist, so it's a trained beautician. She's licensed, she's gone through extensive training. She knows what types of problems we may be seeing, so she knows specific type of skin problems, all that kind of stuff. So you get a free makeup kit. It's really nice too. It's like $200 to $300 worth of makeup. Has anyone gone through Look and Feel Better? You did? I hope you had a good experience. Yeah, it's a very nice makeup kit. They give you usually some moisturizer, some different makeup products, eyebrow pencil, and then it's a class. So the instructor walks you through. It's not a makeover. I always say don't show up hoping to get your makeup done and go out on the town, but it's a class. So they open up everything and you're able to go through with the cosmetologist there, and she shows you how to take care of everything. Then they show you how to tie scarves if you want to wear a scarf. They talk about wig resources if you want to get a wig if you're going through treatment and all that kind of stuff. So again, that's totally free of cost, and there is one available right here downtown, but it's also available all over town. So I think we host about 50 sessions in Southeast Michigan. So if you don't want to wait till the following program available here, all of them are open to patients anywhere. So you could go to one at a different facility if it's a better time for you. And I say that the on-site sessions are specific for the ladies, but there are resources available online. There's a mail format, so it's called Look Good, Feel Better for Men, and it's just a website. So you can kind of do it on your own time. We tried having some sessions for men, but we realized that they don't want to come together and talk about that kind of stuff, but if there's information there, they'll go up and look at it. So that is available online. It talks about the same kind of thing. Your skin's getting really dry. You need to know what type of moisturizer is good. Your doctors and treatment team are available for that. But if you think of it, in the night, or you want to call the 800 number, that way they can walk you through it there. Our Reach to Recovery program is specific for breast cancer patients. So that's where a newly diagnosed breast cancer patient would get connected to a breast cancer survivor. So it's kind of that peer-to-peer support, somebody who's walked that journey. So they'll try and connect you with somebody who had a similar diagnosis and treatment plan and has a similar lifestyle. So if you're a young woman been diagnosed and you have children that you're worried about while you're going through treatment, or if you're an older woman and you're worried about your kids and your grandkids, how are they going to get me to and from my treatment? So they try and connect you with someone to a similar situation that you're in. And it's just for that peer-to-peer support. It's all done over the phone. So you would just get connected and you'd say, this is your volunteer, she's available to talk over the phone, and they'll connect you to her phone number. This one is specific to breast cancer patients, but we do have other resources in our cancer information network that are for all cancers. And there's actually one in particular, an organization out of Chicago, where it's a worldwide organization. So they're able to connect even the most rarest form of cancer. They have patients overseas, and they're able to set you up on a video conference or a telephone. They have the language service, so they can get rid of those type of barriers. So that service, even if we don't offer it specifically for your type of cancer, we'll refer you to that organization that does offer that if that's what you're looking for. Our Key of Hope Extended Stay America program. This one has actually changed a little bit just last week, so this is a little bit out of date. We have partnered with the Extended Stay America locations nationally to offer free and discounted hotel rooms if patients are traveling from afar for their treatment. So it's either they offer a certain amount of free rooms every year, totally free of cost, and then once we run out of those, they offer the rooms for $12 a night, which ends up just being the cost that it costs that hotel to clean the room. So there used to be a limit to those, but now there's not a limit. So the only requirement is that I think you have to be either 40 miles or more than an hour away, your address, from where you're being treated. And there's no maximum stay now. So if you need to stay for 3 weeks, you can stay for 3 weeks. One question I get a lot about this is for caregivers. Caregivers are allowed to stay with their patient at the hotel. That's no problem. We can't do just for caregivers though. So if it's an instance where a patient's going in for a surgery and they know they're going to be in the hospital, the caregiver wouldn't be eligible for the free room until the patient came out of the hospital. Now we know sometimes there's a situation when you're traveling, the patient ends up in the hospital for a night or two. They're not going to kick the caregiver out of the hotel room, but we do try and make sure that it's the patient who needs the room that's getting the room. So any questions about that? Like I said, that's sort of a hot topic recently. There's not an Extended Stay America downtown, which is a problem because the closest one I think is up in Southfield, or there's one over in Madison Heights. So what we do in that instance is, we can get the patient closer, say it's someone from the west side of the state and they're coming over to KCI for their treatment. We get them to the hotel and then we try and set them up with a road to recovery driver who could possibly pick them up at the hotel and take them to their treatment. So there's lots of moving parts, but we try and connect patients however we can to get them where they need to go. And again, those programs are all available through that referral process. And all of the social work team here knows about that. So if you say, I learned at the American Cancer Society Lunch and Learn about this referral process and I have questions, or I want to request a free night to stay, or I want to learn about Road to Recovery, they have the form, they'll pull it out, you can fill it out, and it gets faxed in. Did you have a question over here? Anyone? No? All right. So then there's a couple other programs, support programs available online. One of them is called I Can Cope, and what that is it's a series of webinars. So you can go right on the website, you go to I Can Cope, and there's 10 or 12 different programs available. So it talks you through nutrition during treatment, everything from sexuality during treatment to pain management, financial planning courses. They're all about 20 to 25 minutes, and you don't have to download it just plays right from the website. I know sometimes people are doing them in the library here. You can get to them from the website. And those are good because you can do them on your own time. You can find what you need to find. You don't necessarily have to go somewhere to learn about it. You can do it from where you're already at. And then our Cancer Survivors Network, I like to say that that's Facebook for cancer survivors. So you can go on there. If you're a patient, if you're a survivor, you make a profile. If you want to connect with other people who sort of walked in your shoes, if you're a caregiver, there's an area on there for caregivers. And like I said, you just go on there, you make your profile. If you like to get online, that's a resource for you. And then same with What Next and Circle of Sharing. Those are just like online networking resources. So you can get online and click through and find people who've had a similar experience, or you want to read, this is someone who had a diagnosis, they post things about their treatment, all that kind of information. So those are newer resources, but they're getting more widely utilized. The Cancer Survivors Network, like I said, it's that online community. Just some highlights, it's discreet, so it doesn't have to be a public thing. You don't have to go to a support group if you like to do it from the comfort of your home or from a computer. That's a resource for you. Like I said, it's convenient. The forums are cancer site specific, so you don't have to get on generally with, if you're a prostate patient and you don't want to talk about breast cancer, you can go to the prostate specific forum. So it can get broken down real specific like that. Like I said, you can read stories of hope from survivors and caregivers. You can share you can share your whole story, or you don't have to share anything at all. You can just read about other people's experiences. And there are moderators if you use them. It's like a chat room. So there's someone in there who sort of moves along conversation or might pose questions that would be helpful to the group. So like I said, you can just sit back and read what's going on. You can participate as you like, that type of stuff. So again, that's available through cancer.org. So this is a little bit more about the Patient Service Center. Those are the folks that are specific to our area in Michigan through the 800 number. So again, there's over 300 staff down in Texas at the National Cancer Information Center. 2,300 contacts were handled every day in 2013. So that's 2,300 phone calls or a referral form that came in. So that's over 70,000 patients every month that are contacted. And actually this number went up. We just got the 2014 numbers and it was closer to 950,000 annually. And then again, there's oncology nurses and the health insurance assistant team and the clinical trials assistance team. So our database that I talked about, nationally there's 62,000 resources available through the database. So the database is all the resources that are available to patients that aren't offered specifically by the American Cancer Society. So like I said, if we don't have a driver that can get you to your treatment, we may have a relationship with a cab company where they're able to offer any ride for $8 or whatever it may be. If you need a prosthesis and your insurance doesn't cover it, we can connect you with a location that may be able to donate that for no cost to us to get to you. Or we may be able to find it at a low cost for you, or we can talk you through your insurance to find out how we can get it for you through your insurance. So this is, I say, we get all kinds of obscure requests for here. We had something west out in Howell the end of last year. In the winter, it was someone who had a horse, and they were going through their treatment, and they couldn't get out to feed the horse a couple times a week. They needed someone to come out and feed their horse, and so it went through our 800 number. They didn't have a resource for that in the database because it's not necessarily a common request. Since they didn't have a resource, they called the local office and said, this is a request we have. Is there anything in the community that the patient may be able to use to help them get their horse fed? And we were able to then find a volunteer who was willing to go feed the horse a few times a week. So no matter how obscure the request is, they do go above and beyond, and we are usually able to meet that request. We had another situation, someone in northern Michigan had a wood burning fire and they needed someone to chop wood for them. We got a volunteer to go over and chop their wood, all that kind of stuff. So everyone asks, do you have this type of resource? And I say, it never hurts to ask. If we don't have it, they'll find you something close. If they can't, they'll call us and we'll see what we can do locally to get it done. And then sometimes we're able to work with the health systems too. So we know if we've tried every other route and there's nothing available, sometimes we can call the health system and say, where can we go to get this need fulfilled? That number 62,000, that's national. Some resources are available nationally. I would say probably about 10,000 of those are like the Extended Stay America program, where that would be considered a national resource. But then there's 5,000 or 6,000 that are specific to Michigan and our area. Like I said, all types of obscure requests, discounts for child care if you need to send your kids to daycare and you're normally staying at home with them, that type of stuff. This is just a flyer, so this highlights all of the programs that we have. I think they have these in the library. Talks about the 800 number, getting help to and from treatment, the online forums, and the in-person programs like Look Good, Feel Better and Road to Recovery. So that's it. Like I said, it's a lot of information, but I wanted to give a general overview. I hope you learned something that was helpful from that plethora of information. Thanks for those who are asking questions, but I really wanted to open it up and just have a conversation. If there's anything you were hoping to find out about that I didn't talk about, I'd be happy to go into more detail.